The sun was low on the dry red plains of Arden 5, and a man named Ren walked alone. Dust clung to his boots, and his face was tired. His camp had been destroyed 2 days ago in a sudden air raid. He had no ship, no food, and no radio. Only his water pack was half full. His plan was simple: walk west and hope to find the old trade outpost marked on his worn map. He had seen no one for miles. Not even the local animals dared to cross this open land anymore. War between humans and the Alari had turned even quiet. Zones like this into danger zones. But Ren had no choice. He had to keep moving. As the sun dipped behind a rocky hill, he saw something ahead. It looked like a body. His first thought was fear. It could be a trap. Bandits sometimes used wounded soldiers to bait survivors. Still, he moved closer, hand near the knife at his belt. When he got near, he stopped and stared. It was not a man. It was a woman, and not a human either. She lay in the dust, motionless. Her skin was a rich teal blue, like twilight over deep water. Her armor was broken in places, cracked at the shoulder and chest. She was badly hurt. One leg looked burned. Her white braid was covered in dirt. She looked like she had fallen from the sky. Ren knelt beside her. He checked her pulse. She was alive, but weak. She groaned and shifted slightly. Her eyes opened, just a little, but not enough to speak. She didn't look like a threat. She looked like she had been running, then shot down. He knew she was Alari. Everyone had seen their faces on wanted posters. The war was everywhere. Yet, he didn't feel fear. He felt something else, pity maybe, or duty. He looked around. No signs of a crash or soldiers, just silence and sky. He had to choices: leave her or help her. He sighed. Then, gently, he picked her up. She was light. Her armor was thinner than human gear, made for speed, not strength. She didn't wake as he carried her, though she whispered something in a strange language once. Ren didn't understand it. The next 20 miles were not easy. He walked through dry creek beds and rocky hills, always watching the sky. If either side saw him carrying her, they'd shoot him. Human patrols would call him a traitor. The Alari might think he had captured her. There was no safe answer. But he kept going. At nightfall, he found shelter under a broken old satellite. Dish half buried in sand, he laid her down on a bed of dry grass and gave her a sip of water. Her eyes flickered open again. This time, she looked at him with focus. Her lips moved. But the words were soft. "I won't hurt you," Ren said quietly. She stared at him for a long time. Then her eyes closed again. She was too weak to fight or run. That made things harder. He didn't know if she was grateful or just waiting to recover and kill him. But he had made a choice. He was going to help her. The next morning, her fever rose. Ren tore pieces of his own shirt to clean her wounds. He had a small pack of medical gel. It was old, but better than nothing. As he rubbed it on her burns, he noticed a symbol under her armor. It was a gold crest, shaped like a sunburst with 3 points. He froze. That was the royal mark of the Alari. He had seen it in briefings. Only one group wore it: the royal family. That meant she wasn't just a soldier. She was someone important. Maybe a general. Maybe more. His hands shook a little. "Who are you?" he whispered, but she didn't answer. Ren looked at the distant hills. He was still a day away from the trade outpost. If she was royal, others would be looking for her. Maybe both sides. Suddenly, the choice he made felt heavier. Still, he didn't turn back. As he walked that day with her in his arms, he spoke softly. He told her about his life before the war. He used to farm back on Earth, in a green valley with his brother. He never wanted to fight. He just wanted peace. He didn't know if she could hear him, but it made the silence feel lighter. By sunset, her breathing was steadier. When he stopped to rest again, he noticed her looking at him. Her eyes were sharp now, tired but focused. She didn't speak, just watched him. Then she slowly nodded once, not in thanks, more like she understood what he had done. He nodded back. Ren didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But he knew one thing. He had carried her this far not as an enemy, but as a person. Whatever she was, Whatever she had done, she was hurt and alone. And so was he, that night. As the stars blinked overhead, Ren kept watch. He didn't sleep. He just listened to the wind. Ren woke early. The sky was still dim, and the cold air clung to his skin. He checked the girl again. She was still asleep, her breathing slow but steady. He gave her another sip of water and wrapped a piece of cloth around her shoulder wear. The armor had cracked. They had at least 8 more miles to go before reaching the trade outpost. Ren wasn't sure if the outpost was even still running. Most of the trade routes had shut down since the fighting had spread. Still, it was the only place marked on his map with any hope of safety. He lifted the alien girl again. She didn't resist, but her eyes opened slightly. This time she spoke. Kale. Ren looked down at her. Is that your name? She blinked once, then closed her eyes again. He nodded. Kale. All right, I'll call you that. He walked slowly, careful not to stumble on the rocks. The land was uneven and dry, cracked in places, where old water channels once flowed. Kale was quiet, her body resting against his chest. Ren's arms were sore, but he didn't stop each time he passed a ridge or turned a corner. He checked the sky. Still no drones, no soldiers, only silence. Round midday, Kale stirred again. Her voice was clearer. Why, help me? Her words were slow and rough, but Ren could understand. He didn't answer right away. He just kept walking. Then he said, because you were hurt, and no one deserves to die alone. Kale looked up at him, her teal blue skin shining in the sunlight. Her eyes were a pale silver, sharp and unreadable. You're human, she said. Ren nodded. And you're a Lari. She didn't respond. She just looked at him for a long time, as if trying to understand his mind. Then she closed her eyes again and rested her head against his chest. By the time the sun was high, Ren found a spot with a bit of shade under a leaning stone arch. He placed Kale down and shared the last of his dried fruit bar. She chewed slowly, her strength returning bit by bit. Your name? She asked Ren. She nodded. You saved me, Ren. I only did what I hoped someone would do for me. For a moment, they sat in silence. The dry wind whistled between the rocks, far in the distance. Ren could see the edge of the old outpost. The radio tower still stood, but it looked broken. We're close, he said. Kel's gaze followed his. Hand, that place dangerous, maybe. It might be empty, or there could be bandits. We'll find out. Ren helped her to stand, and for the first time, she leaned on him instead of being carried. Her leg was still weak, but she could walk slowly with support. Together, they made their way down the final ridge. As they walked, Kale said something that made Ren stop. I'm not just a Lari. I am Princess Kelthari. Ren stared at her. I knew you were important, he said. Kale nodded. My ship was shot down. I was on a secret mission. I didn't think anyone survived. So now what? He asked. I don't know, she said. If the humans find me, I'm a prisoner. If my people find you with me, they might think you captured me. Ren smiled slightly. Funny how both sides would hate us for this. Kale gave a small smile too. Yes, but I owe you my life, Ren. Whatever happens next, I won't forget that. By evening, they reached the edge of the outpost. Most of the buildings were broken and empty, but one old storage base still had power. Ren checked the doors and found it unlocked. Inside, it was dusty but safe. He helped Kale lie down on an old cot and searched the cabinets. He found a few medical packs, a half-working radio, and a cracked monitor. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. That night, as Kale rested, Ren sat by the doorway. He watched the stars, thinking about everything that had happened. He had been ready to die alone on this planet. Now, he had saved someone who was supposed to be his enemy, behind him. Kale's voice spoke softly. You are different from what they told us about humans. Ren looked over him. Tom stood in the middle of the giant training chamber. The walls were smooth and silver, glowing faintly. Round the edges of the room, tall Zerine guards watched in silence. Some whispered to each other. Others crossed their arms and stared at him with cold eyes. In the center, Princess Illyra stood tall. Her posture showed calm control. But her eyes never left Tom. A bell rang. The chamber floor moved. New platforms rose from the ground, and small flying machines floated down from the ceiling. They hovered around Tom, circling him like metal birds. "This is your first trial," said a voice from the speaker above. It belonged to Commander Cern, one of the king's top advisors. "Survive the drones, touch the red crystal at the top. Platform, you may not leave the circle." Tom's mouth went dry. He had never trained for anything like this. He fixed broken things back home. He wasn't a soldier. But he saw Lyra watching and didn't want to fail. The bell rang again. The drones began to move. At first, they only circled. Then, without warning, one shot forward. Tom ducked, and the drone zipped past. Another followed, this time spinning quickly as it came. Tom rolled aside and nearly tripped over a platform's edge. He jumped onto the next level and tried to climb higher. The crystal was glowing far above. His chest ached from the effort, but he pushed forward. A drone fired a small burst of air that knocked him down. He hit the platform hard and gasped. Another one flew close, trying to trap him. Tom grabbed a loose metal rod from the floor. It was part of the structure, maybe left there by mistake. When the next drone came close, he swung. The rod hit the side of the drone. It spun out and crashed into the wall. Gasps filled the room. A few guards raised their eyebrows. Tom didn't stop. He jumped to the next platform and climbed again, swinging at any drone that got too close. 2 more drones fell. One hit the ground and sparked. Another flew away, smoking. Finally, Tom reached the top platform. The red crystal floated inside. A glass ring. He stepped forward and touched it. The crystal flashed. A loud bell rang again. The floor returned to normal. The drones flew back into the ceiling. Tom fell to one knee, breathing hard. His shirt was torn, and his arms were shaking. "Princess." Lyra stepped forward. "You finished the trial." Tom looked up at her. "Just barely." "You used your mind," she said. "Not just strength." Commander Cern walked in. His face was tight, but he gave a small nod. "You did better than expected. No human has faced the trial before." Tom stood. "What's next?" Cern turned. "The second trial will test your choices. You will face it tomorrow." As the guards left, Lyra stayed behind. She looked at Tom closely. "You are tired," she said. "I've never fought floating machines before," Tom said. "You adapted. That is something even our best struggle with." Tom smiled a little. "Thanks. But I'm just trying not to get crushed." Lyra looked at him with calm eyes. "Do you know why I chose a human?" Tom shook his head. "Because humans change. You don't wait for things to be perfect. You try anyway. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you strong." Tom didn't know what to say to that. He looked around the training room, still glowing faintly. "You really think I can pass the rest?" Lyra nodded. "I believe you will try." That night, Tom rested in a small chamber near the royal wing. It had no windows, just a soft bed and a table with food. He sat for a long time, thinking about everything. The Zerine didn't trust him. Many thought he was a mistake. But Lyra had chosen him, and now he had to prove she was right. As he lay down to sleep, he remembered Earth, his town, his job, the quiet nights under the stars. It felt so far away now, but this was real. And tomorrow would come fast. In another part of the palace, King Thalos met with Commander Cern. He passed the first trial, said the king. "That surprises me." Cern bowed slightly. "He has no training, no special skills, but he is clever. He learns quickly." The king crossed his arms. "He is not Zerine. He is not royal. But the people are watching," said Cern, "and the young speak of him with interest. They say he fights without fear." The king frowned. This could still fail. Cern paused. "It might. But the princess believes in him." Thalos looked toward the tall window. Stars filled the sky beyond. "She believes in something bigger than tradition," he said. "That can be dangerous." Meanwhile, Lyra stood on a balcony. The city of Zerine Prime stretched far below, shining in the dark. She thought of the stories she had read about humans. She thought of their pain, their mistakes, their courage, And now one of them was here, and her world trying fighting changing. Everything. The next morning, Tom stood in a wide circular chamber, different from the last one. There were no platforms or drones here. Instead, the room was quiet. In front of him stood 3 doors, each glowing with a different color: blue, green, and white. A voice echoed across the chamber. It was Commander Cern again. "This is the trial of choice," he said. "Each door leads to a different test. One will challenge your body. One will test your mind. One will test your heart. You must choose one. You cannot go back once the door closes." Tom looked at the doors. He didn't know what waited behind them. There were no clues, no hints, no advice. He glanced at the balcony above. Princess Illyra stood there with 2 guards beside her. Her face was calm, but Tom knew she was watching closely. He took a deep breath and stepped toward the white door. As soon as he touched it, the others vanished. The white door opened, and soft light spilled into the chamber. He walked through, without turning back. Inside was a peaceful room that looked like a garden. Strange trees with silver leaves grew around a stone path. The air was cool and smelled fresh. Birds flew above small, with glowing wings. At the center of the garden sat a child, no older than 10. She had teal blue skin and long dark hair. She looked up as Tom approached. "You're the human," she said softly. Tom nodded. "I'm Tom. I'm Vina," she said. He looked around. "Is this the trial?" Vina pointed to a nearby pool. "My mother is dying. She's in there. You can save her, but only by taking her pain into yourself." Tom's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "The water reads your mind and soul," said Vina. "If you enter it and hold her hand, it will take her sickness from her and give it to you." Tom looked at the pool. Inside it, lying still, was an older Zareen woman. Her face was peaceful, but her body looked weak. "If I help her," Tom said, "what happens to me?" "You will feel what she felt, the sickness, the pain, the weakness, for a full day." He frowned. "And if I don't help, she dies," Vina said. Tom looked at the water again. It shimmered like glass. He didn't know this woman. She wasn't family. She wasn't even human. Tom stood beside the pool, staring down at the sick alien woman. She floated still in the soft, glowing water. Her skin was pale, her breath slow. Beside him, the young girl Vina waited, her big eyes watching quietly. He felt the fear rise in his chest. He did not know what this sickness was. He did not know what it would do to him. But she was someone's mother, someone's family, someone who could still live. Tom knelt at the edge and touched the water. It was warm, but not hot. It felt strange, like it pulled at his fingers. Vina said softly, "If your heart is true, the pool will let you help her." He looked back at the garden behind him. There was still time to walk away. He could ask for another trial. He could say no, but deep inside, he knew he wouldn't. Without speaking, he stepped into the pool. The warmth wrapped around his legs, then his chest, then his shoulders. As he reached the woman, he gently took her hand. A bright light flashed under the water. It wasn't blinding. It was calm, like sunrise. And then the pain hit. His knees buckled. His chest tightened. It felt like fire ran through his arms. He couldn't breathe right. His muscles turned heavy. His vision blurred. But he held on. His thoughts turned to his mother back on Earth. She had once been sick too. He had been too young to help her then. Now, he could help someone else's mother. Minutes passed like hours. His heart pounded. His body screamed. Vina sat at the edge, her small hand on his shoulder. "You're doing it," she whispered. "She's healing." The old woman's eyes slowly opened. Her breathing grew stronger. Her color returned. Tom smiled weakly. Then the water dimmed, and the pain started to fade. Tom woke up in a soft bed. A warm cloth rested on his forehead. The air smelled like flowers. The alien woman sat beside him, holding a cup. She smiled as he opened his eyes. "You are awake," she said kindly. "Thank you for saving me." Tom tried to sit up. His body still ached, but it was better than before. "How long was I out?" The alien cruiser hovered above the human ship Skylark, casting a large shadow over its steel body. Inside the command room, everyone stood tense. The screen showed the enemy vessel. Dark and silent, like a waiting storm, Ravi looked at Alara. Do you think they'll try to take you by force? She kept her eyes on the screen. Yes, and they won't ask first. Captain Doran turned to her. Princess, we won't hand you over, but we need to prepare. If a fight starts, we'll protect this ship and everyone on board. Alara stepped forward. Then I should speak to them before they attack. Let me try. If I fail, we'll do it your way. Captain Doran nodded. You have 10 minutes. We'll be ready either way. Alara walked to the communication console. Her voice was calm, but her posture showed strength. Ravi watched her, remembering the first day she walked into the wrong room on the ship. She seemed lost then. Now, she was nothing like that girl. She stood tall, like a leader. She pressed the button. This is Alara of House Vian. I speak to the High Ship of the Council. I am alive and here by my own choice. There was silence, then. A voice answered, deep and sharp. You are in the company of humans. This is a break of royal code. You must return. I will not, she replied. I was taken, yes, but I was not mistreated. I chose to stay, and now I speak as an equal, not a prisoner. Your place is not with them, the voice replied. Return now or we will come for you. Alara's tone did not change. You may try, but you will find that I am not alone. These people have shown me something you never did respect. The screen turned black. Communication ended. They're coming, Ravi said softly. Moments later, alarms rang. Ships launched from the alien cruiser. Small fighters, fast and shaped like knives, moved toward the Skylark dock. Captain Doran barked orders. All hands to defense. Lock all outer doors. Arm the shields. Ravi ran with Alara toward the lower level, where the inner defense systems were located. He handed her a small communicator. Stay close. Don't try anything alone. I won't, she said, but her eyes were already scanning the ship layout. The enemy fighters landed on the outer hull. They cut through the metal with laser edges. Human crew members rushed to stop them. Blasts shook the walls. The power flickered. Ravi and Alara entered the defense chamber. Screens showed every part of the ship. Some of the attackers were already inside, moving fast, trying to reach the command room. They're not just here for me, Alara said. They want control. Ravi pointed. Look, they're avoiding the armory. Going straight for the engine core. If they take that, we're finished. I can get there before them, Alara said. Ravi stopped her. It's dangerous. I know the layout of their armor and tactics, she said. I can slow them down. Ravi nodded. Then I'm going with you. Together, they moved through tight corridors, past flickering lights and fallen crates. The ship shook as more blasts hit the outer wall. Smoke filled the air in places, and the sound of distant fighting echoed through the vents. They reached the engine room just as two alien soldiers stepped inside, tall, armored. Fast, their helmets looked like black stone. The engine room shook as the armored alien soldiers entered. Their dark suits gave off no sound, but their presence was heavy. One held a wide stun blade, the other a pulse weapon. Alara stepped forward, her hands raised but steady. I am Princess Alara of House Vian, she said clearly. You do not belong here. The soldiers paused. For a second, there was silence. Then the one with the pulse weapon raised it. Ravi didn't wait. He pressed the side panel, dropping a barrier between them and the intruders. The shot hit the wall behind it, leaving a mark of burning metal. We have maybe a minute before they cut through, Ravi said, backing away. Alara turned. We can't fight them, but I can speak to them again. Will they listen? They might listen to someone they fear, she said softly. She tapped into the communication system, sending a message directly to the enemy commander aboard the alien cruiser. This is Alara. Stop your attack, she said. If you harm this crew, if you destroy this ship, the galaxy will know. The Council will not be seen as rulers. They will be seen as tyrants. The answer came quickly. You have turned your back on your kind. I have found a new way, she said. one that does not use fear or power to lead. Behind them, the barrier began to crack. A blast shook the floor. Ravi stood in front of her. The message continued. You are no longer one of us. Then let the galaxy hear that from your lips, she replied. Open the link publicly. Show everyone who you really are. There was no reply. A moment passed. Then, the attacking soldiers stopped. One of them lowered his weapon. The other looked confused. A voice echoed over the intercom. Fall back. The soldiers stepped back through the door. The blast pressure dropped. The ship became still again. Ravi looked at Alara. What did you just do? I made them choose. She said. They feared the truth more than losing. Me. Back in the control room, Captain Doran listened to the report. They're pulling away, he said. Returning to their ship, the entire crew let out a breath of relief. They're not finished, Doran added. But today, they backed down. Alara and Ravi returned to the bridge. She looked around at the faces of the human crew. Some were bruised, tired, and tense. But no one had left their post. I want to say something, Alara said. To the crew. Doran stepped aside. Go ahead. She stood in the center of the room. I came here by mistake. I walked into the wrong room on the wrong ship. But that mistake gave me something I never knew I was missing: freedom, respect, and friendship. I will no longer be silent, and I will not return to a throne built on fear. The crew watched her quietly. She continued. I am no longer just a princess. I am one of you. They clapped. Some smiled. Others nodded with respect. Later that evening, Ravi sat with her near the observation window. The stars outside shone steady and quiet. The alien cruiser was far now, shrinking into the distance. Do you think they'll come back? Ravi asked. Maybe, Alara said. But I'll be ready, and we'll be ready with you, he replied. She looked at him. Thank you, Ravi. You didn't treat me like a title. You treated me like a person. You are one, he said. Simply, they sat in silence for a moment, watching the stars. Down the hall, some crew members repaired walls, while others shared food and stories. The ship was not perfect, but it was full of life. The next day, Alara stood before the captain. Again, I want to stay here, she said. Not as a guest, but as part of the crew. Doran smiled. We'd be glad to have you, she nodded. Then I will serve, learn, and protect this ship. Not as a princess, but as Alara. From that day forward, she worked side by side with the others. She learned how to read the ship's systems, how to help with repairs, how to navigate the stars. No one treated her like a symbol anymore. She was family. And every time someone new joined the crew and walked into the wrong room, Ravi would smile and remember the day everything began. Not with a war. Not with a command, but with a smile from a young alien woman who had walked into the wrong room. Man changed everything.